welcome everybody to tonight's resources committee meeting. We don't have anybody in the public session. Do we have any apologies?
Councillor Martin Tribe.
Yeah, thank you very much. Do we have any declarations of interest tonight? No. Thank you. Minutes of the last meeting. Are we happy to recommend that these go to full council? Anthony, sorry.
Point of information, just I think we'd all be very pleased to welcome you back into the place.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to second that. We look forward to your corrections.
Thank you, Anthony.
My pleasure.
Okay, so minutes of the last meeting. We happy with those?
Yes.
Yeah. Minutes of the communication. No, that's wrong one. Oh yeah, it is minutes of the communication strategy group. Are we happy to receive those minutes from the 1st of September? Yeah.
It's not, it's actually the minutes of the previous resources. I was slightly surprised it's the 5th of July. We've had another intervening meeting. So are there some minutes missing? I think we have had another meeting.
20th of September. The ones you've just given me.
And that link takes you to the 5th of July as well, doesn't it?
It does,
It
yeah.
does.
Maybe it should have been the September.
Resources.
And I didn't check what we had for September minutes. I'm sorry, I just.
Is there the printout you just gave me, aren't they? That's the September.
Yes. I'm going to guess people therefore don't have the 20th of September in front of them right now.
No.
They were circulated, but I, for some insane reason.
I've seen them. Can we have them again at the next meeting?
Yes,
Yeah,
better
we'll
to
have
have
to.
you guys already. Apologies,
Yeah.
everybody.
I have seen them, that's why I said they were all right.
Paul apologised in case you didn't hear that.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, the communication strategy group, we're happy to receive those, aren't we? Yep. Thank you. Budgets 5.1, 5.1.1. We've got the report on the main budget variations, appendix A. Does anybody like to say anything or ask to him any questions? Robin and then John.
Just propose we agree that they are what they are and the explanations in paragraphs are kind of in.
Thank you. John?
I'm wondering, given that AVDC hasn't paid us what they should have paid us for destination bucket, we currently owe the Buckinghamshire Council £1,150 for the bond. And since we don't pay that until we get the other money.
Are we allowed to do that legally?
Well, not quite. I think, to be honest, the bollard removal actually goes back a bit further, but we've kind of just written one off, I think. So I think we're at the point where both probably need to be just written off. The debt.
What, both of them?
Yeah, I think the AVDC money is quite complicated. That's kind of one of the things that was part done as I came in, and email trails aren't very clear yet. Or I could maybe want to have a conversation with the chair about. I'll come back from the meeting rather than having detailed discussion.
Yeah. Okay, Robin.
Bollard removal would probably be the code number. It's probably the fair.
Yes.
In which case it's an ongoing contract. They changed the contract, I think, or changed the person who did it.
It changed the contract to this year, but this is historic.
Yeah, exactly. And that is with Buckinghamshire County Council. That bill, that isn't with Buckinghamshire Council. So we can't really pay someone who doesn't exist, can we?
I think that they'll be chasing their debts now.
Well, it counts both ways.
No, I'm joking when I say that, but that would be their contract, and they changed it. So obviously, when they were doing the investing day and the emerging council in the 12 months and during COVID, they clearly didn't go around bringing it up. But the danger is that if we cause an ill will, we actually have no option but to use them to actually do that because they're the highway authority. So you just need to make sure Paul makes it correct.
Howard?
When it was transferred, all existing contracts were maintained. None ceased because that was the basis on which the new council was formed. All other removals such as in the town centre for the Charles Fair, I was told was done by the town council.
We arrange it, but we pay a contractor to do it because we haven't got the. But we use a contractor who tell us we're allowed to use.
Right,
Acting for 20 odd years.
as TFB always does.
Okay. Right, thank you. Right, 5.1.2, we've got the income and expenditure report, appendix B. Would anybody like to ask any questions or have any comments? Robin and then John.
Just to say that we discuss it, but it is what it is, and but I do think whether this is the appropriate thing or whether it's more appropriate on 5.2, that I think that 5.2.12, I think it might be appropriate that the town clerk drafts a historical reference point for the precept. We've got a hell of a lot of new councillors who won't know the historics of the precept, and it'd be useful. Many of the councillors will come on between that and won't know the decisions and when it was taken, and it actually does make a lot of difference in the way that you look at the precept. There's many decisions about what we've taken to the council. Now, the information I know is available and it can be accessed, and it would give a guide to members when they're making a judgment against the precept, because they don't understand what somebody did 20 years ago, and that decision is really poignant to the present decision. So I think it's something, if we don't do that, we'll do ourselves an injustice.
Town clerk's happy to do that. Yeah.
So that's I add a brief bit of narrative to the precept report for January,
Yeah,
just summarising some of the background to why we do what we do.
it will save me talking so
John?
much in the meeting.
I think mine's about appendix C, if you look at the details, so I'll wait until we get to that one.
Okay, thank you. Anthony, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I was going to say if that was a motion, I'd be happy to second it, but the,
I think town clerk's happy to do
Can we
that.
vote on it? So it's minutes?
would that
Okay,
be fair?
all right, so we're happy for the town clerk to put a short report together for the precept. Yeah, Geraldine, did you want to vote on that? No?
Unanimous.
You know, well done, Neil.
Did you vote?
Yeah,
It's just out of your eyes.
Okay, right, so should we go down appendix B page by page? So page 1, page 2, page 3, and that's it.
There are other pages too.
No,
Things can go a bit awry.
Then it's appendix C.
appendix C.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing it, all right,
Yeah.
sorry, I meant.
Yeah, it's a different
That's
one.
okay.
Very good.
Okay, so now on to 5.1.3, we've got the income and expenditure report, appendix C, John.
Yeah, it's page 4. I'm wondering why we've not had the money in for the 2 roundabouts that are showing as 0.
Because we have lost sponsors and we're currently seeking new sponsors.
Right.
And whereas at the time we started seeking new sponsors, we had quite a good waiting list. The waiting list has disappeared. The ones we chasing it. So we have got a couple of irons in the fire we're still chasing. But yeah, we're between roundabouts for a couple of them.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll go back. Has anybody got anything on page 1? Robin?
Yeah, just to, you know, it says in 4,000 that we've got money left in for salaries and wages. We have been paying everybody, haven't we? I know it's only a figure saying we've got that. I'm not on the short we've been paying people. It's a very important thing, really. They do need the money to.
I think we're getting paid, Robin.
It was just my point. It's just the way that.
Right, page 2, anybody got any comments or questions? Right, page 3. Page 4, are you 3 or 4, Robin?
Questionable. Yeah, on page 3, with the youth budgets, I presume we've got 0% expenditure. Are we likely to be able to use that money in the coming year, because the youth budgets are separate to the youth council admin? The youth budget was something that was set up to actually do projects for them.
But that's for the youth council to spend, not for
No,
us to
there's
spend.
2 budgets. Youth Council has one budget and the youth budget has a budget.
Yeah, that's the one that you're talking about, 4237.
Yeah.
That's the
Are we
youth
like-
council budget, that's for the young people to spend, not for us to spend.
Are we likely to be able to use that this year? Because if we don't, needs to be discussed again in another place to actually, because it's under the code member, it'll be in events. We need to discuss where we actually put that aside for this year, and then we won't need to raise it again. Or
So
what-
the events budget's different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So there's an events for youth projects, and there's this
Yeah.
youth council
Yeah.
project, so they're
But
different
that,
ones.
are we going to be able to defend that? If not, we need to.
There's no plan to spend at the moment.
but then we're still trying to get the youth council off the ground, but with the COVID and lockdowns and schools not getting back to emails, so it's in the pipeline to reinvigorate the youth council. So all we can do is hope they will get spent in the next year, but it is for them to spend, not for us to
Well, we haven't
spend.
got too much, haven't we? So we
Okay.
might find something to do with it before that.
Right, page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Robin?
Just on 10.61 Cemetery Lodge, is at one point, we will be reviewing that Cemetery Lodge, or are we content that what we've got in there for income is how it's going to stay? Because I don't remember us reviewing the Cemetery Lodge income for a very long time. There's a good reason why we haven't, because we've had, tenancy and different things, but at some point, can I suggest that we just, in the future, review that against when we last did it? Because it's a long time since we reviewed the income for the cemetery lodge, just to make sure that we're not overcharging or we're not undercharging. I'm not wanting to suggest that we put it up, but to make sure that we are in line with what we first wanted, which is probably about 80% of the rateable values of rentable values, just to make sure that we are in line.
Yeah, we're happy to put it on a future agenda. We did change tenants earlier in the year, so there will be a drop in income for this year because we had a couple of months without tenants. And we did put it up, I think, by RPI for the new tenants, so it has been gradually going up. But yeah, I'm very happy to bring it back. And just,
Through you, Chairman, CCTV, there's been ongoing discussions about CCTV, and the budget we've got in there is the budget we've got in there. Have those discussions about increasing coverage in the town got as far as the town clerk, or are they still just people wanting to increase CCTV in the town centre but haven't actually made a formal proposal about doing it? Because we have got a preset coming up, and if they miss the boat, it will be another 12 months until we can do it. And as we currently feel corrected, we actually host the software in and give access to the appropriate authorities, being the police, to access it. Is that going to happen?
So there have been a number of conversations about CCTV. Neighbourhood police team have asked for at least one more camera. The current equipment we've got is a bit aging, so we're talking about the mobile camera that we have at the moment.
Yeah.
They do being replaced. Had an informal discussion with the community board coordinator. It would be an appropriate thing for us to bid to the community board for funding for the new CCTV equipment. We haven't yet got to the point of putting that in, so it hasn't come to anybody. And also the environment committee, when they reviewed their budget for next year, have agreed an increase, or agreed to recommend an increase on the CCTV budget, which would include the cost of the CCTV if we get the money.
Thank you. That's a fairly good explanation. It will come back presumably through environment at some point, and they'll discuss the outcomes of those discussions. So that's fine.
Okay, right, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, what's it, 11? Robin, page 11, is that?
Yeah, just we took some decisions about putting stuff into earmark reserves. I'm assuming earmark reserves will change pending committees, because we took some decisions about putting small portions of money in the events committee the other week. So I presume these earmark reserves will change.
So what will happen is each committee will make a recommendation on the earmarked reserves to the full council at precept, then a precept will agree. Full council has to agree earmarked reserves, so full council will consider all those recommendations, and then they will be agreed as earmarked reserves, presumably at the precept meeting. But the way I've worded them as well is for most committees, the recommendation was that any underspend against specific plans is put into an earmarked reserve at the end of the year. So that will actually happen effectively in April, once Jodie actually knows how much there is left in those cost codes to put into those earmarked reserves.
Second question then. As it's the committee's budget in the financial year in which they took the decision, it's up to the committee where it places that budget. And if they took a decision to place that budget, that's been voted on and carried, it then can't be voted somewhere else because it's still within their budget year. It would be up to the end of the financial year.
So what a committee can do is it can move funds within its budgets, within its revenue budgets, but it can't move money to an earmarked reserve because standing orders or financial regs say that has to be done by full council.
Okay, so they're going to be collected all up together and done in one.
Yeah.
With the minute numbers.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We love this, it's just a comment, don't worry, it's a conversation we all have often.
Robin's got a history of moving money around. Legally, money around. Okay, 5.1.4 purchase ledger, appendix D. Has anybody got any questions or comments on appendix D? Need one? Oh, sorry, John.
Yeah, just a couple of questions really. One is, I see we spend, not megabucks, but we experiment with Amazon. Often the things that could easily be bought within town. You know, off the market even, or off various shops. And I'm wondering why we're doing that when we should be favouring where we can to buy local.
If I may say, we should only be buying things from Amazon where it's cheaper to do so, or the things available through Amazon that aren't available locally. We certainly do get stuff from the market, so when we need gift shops and that kind of thing, we use petty cash to buy stuff locally where possible. There are some things where we've had decisions, for example, a piece of computer equipment that we bought through Amazon because it was cheaper than buying from a local supplier. But actually, you're either paying Amazon to deliver it on a big truck, or you're paying a local supplier to get someone to deliver it then to deliver it to us. So on that occasion, it seems more appropriate for a lower price to go for that computer equipment. But I am very happy to take back that we do need to put on top of what we're using Amazon for, and then we're using it for their appropriate for things that aren't available locally.
Yeah, just a few of these like paper towels, anti-pack wipes, dishcloths, things like that. Nigel would have. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
I've got another question as well.
Sure.
Which is on the second page, where it says supplier account name health, and the analysis description is maintenance. Now we should maintain our health, but I'm wondering how much it costs. 870 quid to do so.
hang on, where are we?
Yeah.
Page 2, it's on page 2.
Oh, yeah.
51021, the first item.
Invoice total £2,090.
Oh, yeah. I believe that is the toilet cleaning contract.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Could we have that
But I
in
will-
the actual,
461229.
so that we know?
Yeah.
It makes sense if that is the case.
Yeah, it does. It's not
Well,
I
it
very-
think the narrative is a bit.
We have the code there, don't we? So
Yeah.
What did it say? 2494612. 2494612 contractor charge for public toilets. There we go. That is the public toilet maintenance charge, cleaning charge.
And the amount in the right hand column is minus VAT, isn't it?
It will be, yes.
Right, sorry.
Thank you. Robin, you on page 2?
Yeah, I can't find on any of the pages, and maybe the town clerk pointed to skip charge for the river rinse. I can't see it. If I've missed it, please tell me where it is, because it might be nice, being as we actually cleaned out the section that we did last time, or the whole section of the river belonged to Buckinghamshire council. So it might be nice if they make contributions to skip. We're not going to charge them for our time, clearly, but it might be a good gesture if they were asked to contribute to skip, being as we did do a lot of maintenance work on their section of the river and cleaned it out for them, which they can't do themselves. I'm not saying we wouldn't do it, I'm just saying it might be a nice gesture if we asked them whether they would consider contributing to the cost of it, not for the whole skip to the previous one, because the previous one we were doing our area of property. We crossed over into theirs with the Severn River Rinse, and we went all the way up to it just seems I'm sure they'd love to make a contribution towards it.
I know that we have had conversations with them. I believe that was going to happen. To be fair, it was only a few weeks ago, and it's unlikely that financial transaction would have taken place that quickly with Buckinghamshire Council, because they're a large organisation. But I will check and report back.
Well, yeah, considering the bollards haven't been sorted out.
Yeah.
We'll
My
wait.
skip is not going to come up for. Okay, so right, so page 1's done, page 2, page 3. Right, no questions on those. Okay. Right. We've got direct debits and standing orders. Appendix E, 5.1.5. Robin?
I'm sure all these direct debits and standing orders are in order, but in light of proposed changes, which we would know from planning proposals in Grendel Road thing, is that, have they notified us of any changes to the garages? Because we know from Anthony Rouse, Vice Chair of the Planning Committee, we know from that their intention is to develop that area. So it would be nice if they haven't given us notice to move. So there is no rush to do it. It's just that we need to ask someone within the council to review space and storage, and to make sure that when that comes up, we can actually, if there's anything in there that we can't store anywhere else, so it isn't a sudden shock to us, because we have seen the planning.
Okay, thank you for that.
We
Okay.
have to approve that list.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Are we happy to approve the list?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you very much. Right. I've got to scroll back up to the top of the agenda. That's why there's a little pause in between me speaking. Okay, so we've got to receive and discuss a report from Paul proposing budget changes for 2022-23. That's report 66/21. Robin?
I've read the report. It's in line with where we are. The recommendations in here are in line with what we know. What we don't know is, as the town clerk indicated, the total council tax base, because they haven't give us that, but as we discussed at a previous meeting. So we are where we are with it. So I think we have to agree the recommendation at this stage, because not to agree at this stage rather than limit any possible sensible conversation at a later stage when more information will come available. So I'm happy to agree the recommendation.
Yeah, is that feeling of the meeting? Agree them?
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, thank you. Policy review. So we've got the council chamber hire conditions, appendix F. Has everybody read those?
I just have to declare an interest in that, because sometimes the Labour Party just actually rent the chamber, but it isn't a prejudicial interest.
I don't think, yeah, it's fine. Has everybody read them and are happy with them? Yeah, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
The community engagement strategy, appendix G, yes.
Thank you. It's obviously, because it's an old one that needs reviewing, we've got the ancient title.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say that.
ADDC, particularly, which needs changing to Buckinghamshire Council.
Thank you.
And I thought that was why it was here. So
No, it is.
Yes.
yeah.
I was going to say that.
The other thing, under partnerships, in paragraph 5, I'm just going to find it now. It's got Pontio there, which is obviously correct, but I just wonder whether Pontio covers the whole of our partnership with the university, does it? Is that sufficient? And should it be made clear that that's what Pontio is, or do you think that doesn't matter?
It's a slightly different arrangement with Pontio. Because Pontio is a joint committee between the town council and the university. So in effect, it comes under both bodies. And therefore is in a different category really to the other organisations that I mentioned, which are wholly independent. What isn't down here is the Friends of the University, whether that's a group probably not directly.
If I may, Chair, in terms of the Friends, so there's been a bit of a, with the Friends, we were going to promote, propose a town council to be our representative on the Friends, but the chair of the Friends came back saying actually they haven't got a space for the Friends within their constitution for us to send someone in that way. So although councillors, we do have councillors who are on the Friends, there's not an opportunity to have a formal representative, so it's not listed because there's no formal relationship.
Oh, because we didn't have a person on one of the, I think it's a CCG, but it's only because Martin was going to the meetings he offered to do that. Could we not ask the councillors that are on the Friends if they would offer in the same way? Because they're going to the meetings of the Friends anyway, so it kind of makes sense that they could feed stuff back to us.
You can't ask someone to do it if they're not there as a formal role. You can't ask them to kind of have formally feedback to the council. So they might share things informally, but it's quite a different situation. So that'd be pushing the envelope a little bit.
Robin,
Yeah, just
Howard, sorry,
I'm quite, because I do assist my friends, I'm quite happy to do a report as part of my council report at the full council.
Yeah.
But Friends is not about, it's really about promoting interests of the students and helping students within the town. It's, that's the sort of role it does.
Yeah.
It's not a body as such as we normally have set up. I'm quite happy to do a verbal report.
Okay, that's very kind of you. Members happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Robin.
Just for what the town clerk said, I did get copied into the correspondence why if at interim we said we'd review it back at events because the recommendation comes from events. The chair of the Friends said that what the town clerk said, which really we still have to go back through that process in events to explain to events why the recommendation can't go forward. So that will be done by events. It won't change what we said tonight, but we do have people who are friends of the university, so they can carry on. All the partnerships involved. Are we sure that we've got everybody in here? Because it's got the Christmas parade committee, but it hasn't got organisations, other organisations that do that. It hasn't got that we work in partnership with the organisation that put band down. It hasn't got the acoustic club in there. Or are we coping there different?
Because this is organisation says that where the town council is represented on those organisations.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes, Margaret, sorry. Thank you. Can I just ask about the Alms Houses charity?
That's you.
Yeah, surely we were in partnership.
Oh, is it down there?
Yeah, because I've sit on that as a representative as the town councillor.
Yeah, that's a missing link.
Very good point.
That's spotted.
Sorry, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Is there any other group organisation that you see missing from this? Anyone? Robin?
Is the correct title here somewhere for the consultant with the doctors? That we have member on that,
Martin.
Martin, and it isn't here, or is that something outside where we want to be?
He's our representative, isn't he? So that's the
Yeah.
Swan Practice Focus Group.
Which haven't met since Evans and Day, but Martin is our representative on it. And it might be appropriate that we record it as such. How long that will continue as a body will be up to the people on it, won't it? But
Yeah,
it might
okay,
be.
that's fine. Right. So is there anything else that anybody's spotted on here? Or are we happy with the report?
That's good.
Yep. Yep. Happy? Okay. Fabulous. Let me scroll back up to the top. Okay, we've got the internal audit reports. So we've got Appendix H. Robin?
I just asked for you, Chairman, the town clerk, was the town clerk content with the internal audit report? Did he believe it was pretty much where we thought we would be presently? Or did he have any comments that he wished to tell us on his observation of the internal audit report, rather than, it is, audit reports are, having looked at a few, you can go through every line by line and ask questions on them, but I think it's easier to ask the town clerk what his assumption was of it.
I would say, so this is the second year we've used this internal auditor. I think last year my feedback was I thought they were really helpful, really thorough, quite challenging in a helpful way. And I'd say the same thing again. I think you can see they have picked up some issues, which are important issues we need to resolve, and they're all resolvable between now and end of the financial year, most of them quite quickly. So I think that they've picked up issues, hopefully in a way where it's clear what the issues are, as well as clear what we need to do to respond to them. They're not raising any concerns about anything that's happening in the council, just to make sure we've got the right processes in place, that nothing's missed. So there's no massive concerns to report to councillors, and nothing there that we. I would hope all that they'll be happy when they come at the end of the year. That all those things have been resolved.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Just to say, Chairman, that
Yes,
that
Robin.
some of the actions which were brought up last year, like signatures and that, are appearing in this report, and we've taken those actions. So there, that shows that it's actually, as questioned, we're already putting that process in place, aren't we? Changed the way that we do signatures. Why Margaret and the Mayor and I spoke before the meeting, it's a change in process, so we're doing that. So
Is that a question?
no, it's just an observation.
All right, thank you. All right, so 7.1 cover letter. Any comments or questions on that?
Voted agreed.
Yeah. Yes, Margaret.
Thank you. Just, it refers to what John raised earlier about using local, and this audit is coming from Wiltshire. So, and I think we did raise something similar last year, actually, about when something like that.
There, I mean, I'm not sure there are any very local auditors. They do a number of councils at the same time. So they book a hotel locally and stay there for a week and then go back to Wiltshire. So they're not just driving, they just
No. But it is, you know, we've got this local procurement policy, haven't we? And we need to just be really sure that we are following that policy, haven't we, with Amazon. And I do take the point that maybe if you got something from somewhere in town, they might order it via Amazon as well. But you know, but we are committed to supporting our local businesses.
Okay, Robin, is this on the letter?
Well, it's on, just on the auditor. The thing is, with auditors, there are only certain types of people who do audits for local authority councils. It's not something that you can go out and get a person to audit. A, they've got to understand what local authority do. B, if you could find someone locally, we would have took them. And local, you'll find that many councils are using several, Howard will know as well, and several different big bodies that do this auditing. And we went through the decision of procurement to get someone to do it, because we were doing it slightly different before. And it's because we wanted a heavier hand to make sure that we were actually, this internal audit is the one that makes us act better. So we do want somebody who's independent and outside. If you've got a local person, we could pop round for sherry and discuss the audit with them.
Okay,
We'll have
all right,
other
let's
people
move
do
on.
that.
Right, so we've got the interim summary report 7.2, appendix J. Has anybody got any questions or comments on that appendix? No?
Just trying to catch up with where we are.
We're on 7.1, weren't we? We didn't finish.
Coverless, I did. Appendix J now, interim summary report. It's a lot to go through, but I expect everybody's read this at home anyway. Like good counsellors you all are.
Never stuck out.
Right, so then we're on appendix K, the observations with Paul's summary. Is there any questions or comments on appendix K? No?
Just make a comment, which Paul said there you were going to look at, which is the deal of signatories on electronic. I think that's quite important. Don't need any discussion there. Just raise it.
Why?
So just to clarify for members, what we're going to start doing as soon as it's arranged is, whereas in the past members have sat around the table and signed checks, we have one check every 3 months now, but we will go through the same process where members sign invoices and initial them, but members will then actually go onto the bank account and members have a login just to approve payments. So members actually able to see it is actually the correct payment in the bank account, which matches up to the sheet Jodie's given them. So you're not then just trusting myself and Jodie with the bank account all the time. You can see that it's members that are approving those payments. And we'll work out if that's sat with your tablet or my laptop or whatever. We'll try and do it in the room as we do checks.
Yeah. Right, happy?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, town council office arrangements. We've got the report 6721. Item 8. Robin?
Yeah, just to comment on appointments only. What do we have to do to get an appointment?
Phone the office.
I'm joking.
Not email.
Or is that, this is for outside, not internal, obviously,
Well,
because there is difference.
if you're talking about councillors, that's it. Well, let's talk about two things. So this is about what we're presenting with the public, what's on the website, and what members of the public know in terms of how they can access us. Now, at the moment, what's there isn't actually quite right anyway. And actually access to us is, if a member of the public wants to walk off the street and talk to something to the town council, they basically need the library to be open, or they need to phone before they get here. It's a slightly difficult one because we're not really encouraging members of the public to come into the office still, because we don't want people to come in unless there's actually a reason to. Obviously, for councillors, you're always welcome in the office, but I would encourage people to make an appointment before you come, so it's not, you know. Some councillors we see once a year, some councillors we see more often, but we're always here for you. And but if you come when those but even councillors, you won't be able to get in if the library is shut.
Yeah. And there is the offer from the library ladies that one of the day, I think it's the day that I came in, I couldn't breathe and I got upstairs, they'd offered to call you to come downstairs.
Oh, absolutely.
And I said, I know I've got to go upstairs because I was also seeing Amanda with you at the same time. So, but the library staff are always happy to call a member of the town council down if somebody isn't able to go upstairs for any reason. I don't know, I had the hand up first, but I'll go to Margaret first because she spoke less.
Thank you. I didn't check because I was at the office today, but a few weeks ago when I needed to go to the office, there wasn't a phone, the phone number on the door. So if on a Monday a member of the public came to the door and wanted to phone upstairs because the library is not open, the phone number of the town council office wasn't on the door, and I did raise it. I can't remember who with actually. Okay. And somebody said they would try and sort it, but I haven't checked whether that's happened or not. Because it seemed to me that the phone number should be on the door.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Okay.
And maybe email address as well, because somebody wants to send an email.
I'll follow that up.
Thank you, Margaret. Robin?
It's just one thing, I don't think every council should have it, but I do think that it might be something to look at for both the mayor and the chair of resources, that some way that they can have the same access to the building on a Monday as the council started, because they should be able to come and meet as and when they want. So I think maybe that's something that should happen, a conversation there. I'm not going to say why I say that, but there's a good reason for saying that. And you do need to, as councillors, be able to have access to the council.
But we'd have to have a key card then.
I think it would, can I just ask that we have a conversation about how that could be achieved? And then the reason why then, because there is a good reason.
We need to have a conversation about why it's necessary first.
Yes, we'll do that, and then
It's probably not possible, but it's a practical reason I can go to.
Yeah, I think,
as well.
yeah.
Mm.
Okay.
John?
So I disagree with that fundamentally. It's not for us to have access to the offices in that way. There's no need for us to have access in that way. And if there's something that Council Secretary is not saying, then say it out loud here. We're a public meeting. If there's good reasons why it should be the case, then say so. I don't like the idea of these conversations happening behind.
I don't know anything.
I'm not saying you do these something, but I don't like the idea of these conversations happening somewhere off stage. If there's an issue whereby the mayor needs to have access, then let's talk about it. Or whether you need to have access, or any other chairs need to have access.
Yeah.
I personally don't see the need for it. You can always turn up and just come in that way. Why don't you just walk in? We don't see that at all.
Because I can't see that it would be possible for us to be issued cards to gain access, but
I don't see any problem with arranging an appointment.
Mm.
And I think it's a better use of time. And again, if I say 10 o'clock, all I've got to do is email the office and say, can I see Paul at 10 o'clock? Paul might be out of the office or have a meeting. So there's no point just wandering in when you want. And I don't have the time to just wander in and out when I feel like it. So, even a phone call now, I'd rather make an appointment to speak to somebody on a phone call than just keep ringing. And then it requires an email.
Yeah, no, I felt the same way, because you could be stuck in a meeting for 2 hours and now either hanging around or not getting an issue resolved anyway. So, but Geraldine, do you have your hand up anyway? Okay. Right, take that. Right. So, are we happy with the report? With the office arrangements?
Yeah, great.
Yeah, thank you. Item 9, climate emergency action plan. And it's L. Anybody got any questions or comments on this item? John?
Well, we had a meeting last week where a number of climate champions were agreed.
Yeah.
And it's not a proposed list, everybody else would have had themselves to the list as well. And for example, I put myself forward to be the champion for the land and food section of this, or food and land. And I want to at some point have a look at that, where in kind of more detailed pattern, and maybe look at see what's happening with maybe other town councils here and in, I don't know, Ecuador or Australia or wherever else things might be happening, to see whether we're missing a trick and whether there are some things that we could be doing or sponsoring or facilitating. So I guess what I'm saying is, if we agree this now, I may well be coming back within 6 months to say, what about a change? So if that's okay, and we can do that, that's fine. What I'm worried about is if we sign up to it again and approve it again, will that mean no other changes can be allowed before another 6 months?
No, I don't think that's the case at all.
Excuse me. No, just developing documents. So unless
Okay, if it's regardless of
you can't contradict something, but I don't think that's what you're talking about. You're talking about
adding, enhancing everything else.
That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Robert?
One of the things with responsibility of the council is people can commit to something, they're not be leading it. Maybe it's something that we should consider that councillors have the option to be the climate champion, in which case they can all be involved. So it means as and when time is available, they can do things. It may be that for 4 months, 6 months, no thing that one councillor knows about comes up, and influencing decisions shouldn't be council. So I'd like to wonder whether it's worth discussing whether, rather like in Buckinghamshire Council, we're all corporate parents, and corporate parents, the role of a corporate parent is you're all meant to be guardians of the young people within Buckinghamshire and raise questions about their issues and anything that you see. So would it not be something worth considering either now or at a future date where all councillors become climate guardians in the same thing? We haven't got the same level of responsibility. Councillors can opt out of that if they want to, so that when it comes to discussing something, there's a bigger, John might come forward with something which we've all missed and wish we'd all noticed, but then you have to bring it forward. But it could be a bigger conversation, a larger conversation, because everything's changing in the environment. In our lifetimes, we've noticed how the seasons have changed.
So what's your suggestion?
I was explaining the suggestion is that we all become corporate, become climate guardians in the same way that on Buckinghamshire Council you are all.
Yeah, I got that bit.
So that there's no confusion, and that means that everybody has to share in the responsibility of being involved in it.
What do others think of that idea? So it's more of an opt-out rather than an opt-in suggestion,
Yeah.
you're saying?
Not that.
Okay, I think it's a good idea. But the idea of the chapters is not that they're exclusive owners of various sections, but they're the ones just pay a bit more attention to it. And maybe just sort of go, oh, what about this? Because if we all, it's the old thing, if we're all responsible for everything, nothing gets done. So the idea is just to sort of say, well, these couple of people are going to just do a bit more thinking and leaning on this issue. But of course, I mean, maybe we should have something on the wall with our, with some sort of certificate, we are a climate emergency town council, and have us all sign it on a bit of paper and actually have that on the wall somewhere, just to impress upon people, this is a personal commitment that we're all making to do what we can in this town council to tackle the threat of climate change and so on. Maybe we should do something like that, perhaps.
Yeah.
That would sort of, in a sense, embody what you're saying.
Yeah.
What do members think of that idea?
I think what John says is the next stage. I think what we really want to do is see whether members agree that that's a good thing to do first. But what I don't want to do is use the climate positive thing as a means of saying, well, if you don't sign, clearly you're a bad person, a good person. I don't think that's what I'm about. I'm just thinking that if we all have an opt-in to be whatever, and I think it's only right that those people who have signalled, like John has, know people to take up responsibilities will be leads in that. And I think bringing other people on, so there's a succession and something comes along, they may really be interested in that thing and they stay part of the conversation. And then if the council wants to, we can go very much down the route that John's suggestion is to have a plaque made up, the council sign up and a document, whatever. But I think doing that all at once, it could become a discussion about signing a piece of paper rather than the climate itself and get lost in the discussion.
I don't agree. I think it goes hand in hand because we're all on the town council and we've all signed up to this climate emergency. So signing a piece of paper isn't forcing anybody into, not doing it or saying that they're going to sign it even though they don't believe in it. In the same way that opting out, it's the same kind of thing. If they didn't want to sign it, then they would opt out. So,
through you then, Jim, I'm going to propose we do it. If members think it's a good idea, we've had 3 of us talk about it. We haven't had a discussion about it. I'm more
that's what we're doing now.
That we do it in two ways, so that we don't lose the principle when we discuss the individual. And I think with individual conversations about why would you want to make me do something, so it could lose the really good thing and damage the great objective of what it is. And that's why I'm just being very careful around it. I totally concur with John. I just think it's how we get there. 2 sections, this is what we want, and would you agree with B? And then do it like that.
Well, why don't we say, I don't know whether we can raise this from the floor or not, town clerk can advise, why don't we agree tonight that we recommend to the full council that that we recognise that we are all custodians, guardians, whatever, corporate parents of the climate emergency policy. And we recommend that is recognised formally in our minutes. And then also from this meeting, we ask the town clerk to prepare a draft certificate that could be signed by all the councillors, which we bring back to the next resources meeting, which we then review. And if we agree it, we then put that forward to the following full council. So we do it in the 2 bites that you're suggesting, Robin, but we don't delay now.
No, I really don't. I thank you for that, John. It's a good way through it. And
Right, can I just take Geraldine, she had a hand up.
Well, I agree with all what you said, Lisa, because I was thinking Buckingham Town Council set up the climate emergency plan, so we all as councillors agreed that's what we were going to do. So we are all part of it anyway.
Yeah. Margaret?
Thank you. I just think there's a risk of us blah blahing instead of doing. And I don't want to do anything that's going to stop us doing, and just, I've said
listen,
John?
Yes, obviously, but equally doing something that's palpable, that could sit on the wall there or wherever, saying you are now entering a space, which is, filled with people who are really, really committed to doing what we can about the climate emergency, and we've all signed it. That makes quite a public statement, and I think part of our role, as it says within the policy, is to persuade people in the town to actually take this stuff seriously. Because we know there are people around who are going, it's not going to happen in my lifetime, so I don't care about it. Or I'll still stuff my pockets full of dollars and cash because I'm still making money. That means in 40 years' time, there won't be anybody to make money from anymore. So I think having that statement, I think is an action that will have ripples out from it. And I accept it's just words on a bit of paper. But I think if we, each of us, and all of our town council colleagues saw it as we walked in the room every time we came in here, that would begin to maybe have more of an impact on us to think about that. It's like a Socratic oath or something, not Hippocratic oath or whatever, or other mission statements that you see in corporate organisations. That mission makes a difference because people go, oh yeah, it does change behaviour, it does make us more aware, and it makes our publics more aware as well.
But also, we just went over the hirers document tonight, and the hirers are told that we, support the use of non-plastic, and for them to think that way. If we had hirers coming in here and there was something public that said this is what we all believe in, it's the same kind of thing. They're being reminded, this is a public space. So right, so are we happy to move forward on that idea that we who is it, John?
So I'm proposing, or seconding what Robin's saying, in effect, I don't really mind how minutes it, that the first stage is we go back to the full council from this meeting and say, we want just propose that everyone in the council recognises that we are all custodians of our climate emergency policy. And then meanwhile, Paul and co do a bit of digging. There might be something like this around already that we can simply copy, but find something that we could then put forward to this next meeting of the resources committee, that we could then, in a sense, sanction and say, yes, that should go to the full council. And then if that's agreed, maybe at that full council, we all sign it.
Yeah. Are you happy to propose that idea that John can
I
second?
am. I just like to take on the wise words of Mark, which are wise words, that in doing this, we have to do it in such a way that it doesn't become blah blah, because she said very little, but what she said was a lot, because with the climate emergency, what you can do is through good intentions create huge disappointment. So though John says, why don't we do it, everyone says, why don't we do it today? The reason I would hesitate with it is it put a hesitation in there, is to present blah blah, because it allows the members to find out what the hesitation is. Because what I really wouldn't want to do is put something to council and then it becomes a major focus of something, damages all the work which has been done, and becomes, as the mayor said, blah blah. So I'm happy to go forward. It was just a suggestion. I'm happy to go forward. It's just how we time it going forward to make sure that we don't damage what we are doing. So when I say we put a slight hesitation, or a hesitation that we put a line in the agenda saying it has been discussed at the resources committee whether this would be appropriate, and if members think this is appropriate, it will come back all together at the next meeting. I just don't want people to start, because we'll have virtual signalling. Well, I do this with my stuff, I do that with this, and we've seen a lot of that, haven't we, in COP, whatever it is at the moment. And so I just wonder where I take advice with Town Clerk. He sees the logic of that, because I don't want to damage the work which is in this report, which has been worked on for a long time.
We're not doing anything that will damage the report, Robin.
No.
This is a proposal. Are you happy to propose
I'm happy.
what John said? John's happy to second it. Did you get the word in, Janine? Yeah, okay. Members vote in agreement with that proposal.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And those against? And those abstaining?
1 abstention.
Cool. Okay, so anybody got anything to discuss on this type report then? Okay. That's up to the top. Okay, committee calendar. We've all received the dates. Are we all happy with the dates?
Just clarify something, Chair. Just on 2022, you may have noticed that most of these dates have changed from what you already agreed for 2022. So we've had to slightly rejig the year. The reason for that is that Buckinghamshire Council now really helpfully explained their council tax base setting process. So what I've done is rescheduled the year. So because we won't get the council tax base for next year until about the 5th or 6th of December. So I've rescheduled it so that TCE and environment and then resources can all meet a good time after we've had the council tax base, to make sure all those 3 groups can meet with the council tax base information before the preset meeting in 2023. And actually, when you then, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you, but that actually means then the whole year has to shuffle back, because we do run on quite a tight cycle of meetings.
Okay, thank you for that, Robin.
There's an obvious route, because where planning is, planning has to be where it is because it has to take place. What I'm looking down through this thing, and then you go along where you get environment comes in before events, and then, or we go on the page 2, which is 20. What I'm getting at is, I want to be, because several times this year we've had problems when organising events and making decisions about events, that we've had to do extraordinary meetings to actually put right the calendar events, because the calendar events don't always work out with the schedule of meetings. And where I would say that the environment meeting, we take that decision, not many event decisions with the environment committee, but would it matter when it was a week forward or a week back? But it does actually matter when we're organising events, whether you're a week forward or back, because members do need to actually be able to discuss the event in plenty of time to be informed. And with the environment, they can discuss the contract.
So if you looked at any particular
No,
dates,
it's just, I'm asking the town clerk, I haven't got the events calendar next door to me, which not in the same way, because it's not actually, years ago we used to have the events running down the opposite page here, so you knew where the events were. So I could cross-reference by saying this, that I can see that those meetings take place as chair and town centre events, that I've got time to actually discuss them. But it could be, you could go through the whole year, that you never actually get a chance as a committee to go through in appropriate time to do change and do events. So I would just think that
what's your thoughts?
I'd like to see added in there the town council events, added into the actual calendar for a start. Then it start making sense to me as a year, because everyone, and it also helps the mayor, because the mayor can look at the calendar and see which events she's got to attend, or he got to attend, and it also allows everyone to see when they set their own diary. I've always wanted to attend this or attend that. When you get it's all there, and you get some schedule of the whole year's thing. The seasons of when we do.
Attending council meetings is in the evening, that wouldn't have an effect on whether we went to an event.
Historically, I can assure you that the calendar used to have it on the side. It was really, really useful for members.
As a quick question, have you spoken to Amanda at all about any of?
I would at least
TCNs?
talk to Amanda about it, because I'm the
Okay.
chairman of the committee and I'm here as in here, and I would talk to my committee about it first. But I'm mentioning it here purely as an observation that it would be an improvement. If members don't agree with that, that's perfectly fine. You can carry on as it is. And I also was trying to seek clarification from the town clerk as he checked the schedule of meetings against the schedule of events, because there have been some times during when we were trying to put together stuff for the fringe, different things, and the schedule didn't match up with where we were. And I was quite happy to do what we did this year, which was
We had an extraordinary, didn't we?
we had to do that to bring it back into kilter. So there is a reason behind it, and that's what you're supposed to do as a chair committee, is raise those points. And it's for the town clerk to assure me that they've been considered, and then I can relax, or whether he believes that adding this schedule of events to it, which is one extra line, would be a detriment to the calendar.
So in terms of those 2 points, if we can provide a copy of the calendar with events on it, not quite sure how we'll do it. We'll probably end up with 2 versions, because this works quite well as a single sheet, so we'll have members who prefer that, just because actually that tells you where the meetings are. But we can look at a way of putting events on as well. In terms of do TCE meetings line up with the events programme, there's not an easy way of doing that now, because we've got 34 events a year and only 6 committee meetings. It's just not possible to put committee meetings in that work for all the events, because we've got events that come in at us all the time, really. So the only way to really solve that problem would be to apply as many committee meetings, which I don't think we're looking for. So I can't see an easy way of slipping around to make it better, but it's always going to be a tension, because we're doing so many events, that is always going to be a tension.
Just
Yeah,
one suggestion then, and it makes no difference, but it instantly puts more time into everything if you're weak. Can I suggest that we swap the environment and events committee round by doing that throughout the year?
it's just a particular.
Throughout the calendar, if you look, the environment meet first and the events committee meet second. If you
And the
swap-
reason for wanting that change is,
logically, if you have an extra week in advance to discuss something, it may put some of the problems can be corrected, because you are going to be meeting on that day. It may be just a personal thing that I'm looking at it, and I'm quite happy to see how it goes for the year and be proved wrong. But I don't understand why we would do that, because years ago the cycle was different. I'm just making the point. Other members might disagree, but that's fine.
John,
I mean, there are some fixed points in this that I didn't want to change. The planning cycle and so on,
yeah,
needs to meet on a regular basis. Resources usually meets a couple of weeks ahead of full council, for obvious reasons. So there are some fixed points in here. I think what Robin's highlighting in terms of the sequencing of environment and TC&E, that could flex, I suppose. I mean, Robin's suggesting there that they should all be reversed. I'm not sure that's going to solve the problem.
No, you're probably right.
But I mean, what I would propose is that rather than we accept this not with a caveat, that between now and full council, which is in a fortnight's time, that maybe Robin and Amanda and Nina sit down and just take a quick look at this.
Yeah.
And if there are one or two places where it makes sense to reverse the order of TC&E within Parliament, then to do so. I mean, there's no skin if anybody knows. So everybody knows in advance. I mean, Lee's got to organise his diary, Amanda's got to organise hers, and we've got to organise ours and everything else as well. That would be my proposal. That which is just a little smidgen of flexibility, because I'm not going to propose, I'm not going to agree with Robin, he's going to suggest we throw a ball out the window and just rejig it
I'm
around.
happy to second that
TC&E. I
proposal.
don't think that's feasible.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I asked Robin if he'd spoken to Amanda, because I think that is the way forward is for them to sit down with Nina and this calendar and work out if there is a particular month, like you said, then if that can be changed, then let that be changed.
In which case, can I ask Town Clerk who was involved in writing the calendar? Because if that was,
Who was involved, did you say?
because you're presuming that it isn't, same way as it isn't right for a chair of a committee to say, I want to change that, it isn't right for a committee clerk to the committee to say that you would do the events calendar. All I'm really seeking here is an understanding, and it's quite simply an officer to officer conversation. It could be,
Well, the
may I finish? An officer to officer conversation is the way it should work. I could go into the office and I could go in there and I could say, I want to change that, I want to change this. That isn't the appropriate way to do this.
You're not saying that though.
I totally concur what John's saying, that you shouldn't just flick it round in one. But if I'm going to the office and I've got a predetermined view of this, I think it's only right that we allow the town clerk to talk to the events coordinator and see if there is a pinch area in the year where it may only be, as John said, one meeting in a year which would improve the strategy, and that way we don't do anything. And it's a simple change. Otherwise, it makes it a big issue. I've got to go into the office, they've got to sit down with me. I'm going to go through it saying, well, I want to move that for that. And by the same token, you wouldn't talk to Amanda as a chairman about what you wanted to do, because the chairman chairs the committee, and you wouldn't change the agenda, and the committee makes the decisions. So I propose that we do what John says. It's just a simple matter that the town clerk sits down with Amanda and sees if there's a pinch point in the year. I didn't think what I said was going to be so difficult, as I would have opened it now if I thought what I was saying was trying to make things better, not worse.
Well, you actually wanted to change all of the environment TC&E meetings, so I think the way forward is a wise one. John?
Yeah, I'll just repeat that. I think that flexibility, build that in and see whether there's any need to switch them on occasion. Maybe knock stock and barrel. Maybe it would make sense to, as Robin has suggested, to switch them all. I don't think either committee would worry about that. There's no logical sequence other than planning going to happen every kind of fortnight or 3 weeks or so, and resources going to come before full council. I mean, there are some things that will have that built in, plus the other policies we've agreed some while ago, avoiding bank holidays, avoiding August, yada yada. The other thought that occurs to me is, given what Robin's saying, when I'm not involved in TC&E now in quite the same sort of way, but if there are some operational questions which need some resolution, then why not invent another subcommittee or something, and have that as a fallback, or carry on doing emergency ones instead. I mean, you can meet as often as CSG if you want. We meet 8 times a year.
I mean,
more than any other committee I've ever known.
there was only one extraordinary TC&E this year, so I think it's going to be 2 after next week. Oh, okay. Can we?
Yeah, just to say.
And then Anthony can speak afterwards. Can we just move this on?
No, I think it's an important point. We shouldn't, the chairman, use officers' names in a meeting. We should use the term of the office. I think that's a bad habit to get into, because the person isn't here. So can we, as a rule in future, use the term events coordinator?
No worries. Anthony?
All I was going to say was reversing environment and TC&E throughout the calendar is clean, simple, and if it resolves matters 99% of the time because it gives TC&E an extra week to prepare for things, it seems so simple that any other convoluted methodology is redundant and irrelevant.
Trouble is, we don't know if it's going to change anything, and that's why if Paul has a chat with Amanda, as Robin's amendment to the proposal is suggesting, then I think that's the way forward. Because we don't know if it's going to, we don't know if this is going to affect anything the way that it is listed here. If changing it is going to make it worse or better, we just don't know. So Robin's made a good point tonight about the TC&E calendar, and I think that we just vote on the amendment that is, the town clerk has a conversation with the office about this calendar, and then we've got time before full council to bring the calendar back. Can we have a vote on that, please? Those in favour? Full house, okay.
And that
thank
will
you.
include the event, finding a way of putting the events in the calendar.
We can always have it landscape, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just how its members get to events.
okay. Right, and scroll back up to the top. Right, and 10.2 was for 2023.
Yeah,
We-
just
yeah.
ditto, isn't it?
Yeah. Actual report is appendix O.
Noted.
Yeah, is that agreed? Yeah. Okay, I don't have any chair's announcements. So date of next meeting is, it's not on here.
Is it not?
No.
No, it's going to be, it'll be in 2023.
That's
The 10th of January.
Total committee clerk.
It'll be in 2023, I know that.
10th of January 2022.
Well, just 2022. I quite like the next bit, 1972. That's a much easier period of time.
Yeah, I was born, yeah.
Have we done with the public participation?
We have done the public part of the meeting.